All right. So yesterday we started sequences and series, and we did an introduction to arithmetic sequences and geometric sequences. We are going to spend today concentrating strictly on arithmetic sequences. Arithmetic sequences, once again, have a common difference d, the number that we add or subtract every time to get to the next number. Arithmetic means, you've actually worked with arithmetic means before. An arithmetic mean is the average, is a way of saying the average is. Here what it is it's not just the number between, in the middle of two, but let's say I've got two numbers and I've got a lot of slots. The arithmetic means are all the ones that fill in the slots. So if I have a sequence of numbers and I have, let's say, the third number and the eighth number, the means are the ones that are in between, and we will find how to get all the ones in between today. And then we have the arithmetic sequence formula. This formula will be very important to you. This is one of the formulas you'll have on the board, and it'll be on the board just like this when you take your test. No description as to what the different parts are and exactly what you need to use it for. So you need to know that formula. You need to have that and be able to recognize it. The reason I give it to you is so you don't get screwed up by, oh, it's n minus 1 and you have an n plus 1 down when you screwed up. You'll have the formula. But you'll still need to be able to recognize what it is and all the different parts. So a sub n is the nth term. A sub 1 is the first term. N is the number of terms that we're dealing with. Either that term number we're trying to find, or if we have a particular term and want to find out where it is in the sequence, N is the where it is in the sequence, and D is the common difference. Like I said, we'll be using that formula somewhat today. Okay, now this one's sort of a review. So the first one is, are the following arithmetic? Yes or no? And we're only guessing arithmetic. I don't care if they're geometric or not. I really honestly don't. So if I have a sequence and it's not obvious to me, and with these numbers here, it's not obvious to me, here's what I would do. 2.5 minus 4.2. And I get negative 1.7. And I want to know, is that what I'm going to get every time? So I take a number, subtract the one before it. 0.8 minus 2.5. 0.8 minus 2.5. And you get negative 1.7. And that's what you would get if you did it again. Okay. So yes, this is arithmetic. Yes. And D is negative 1.7. If I want to test for an arithmetic, I take a term and I subtract the one in front of it. Take a term, subtract the one in front of it. If I get the same thing every time by subtracting, that's my D. Then it's an arithmetic sequence. Next one is a little more difficult, but it's not bad. This is actually the recursive formula. So my first term is 3. How do I find the next term?
Plug in 3.
I'll plug in 3 here, but what do I do to it?
Subtract 4.
I subtract 4. What do I do to find the next term?
Plug in what you get.
I subtract 4. What do I do to find the next term? I subtract 4. What do? I subtract 4. Subtracting 4 is the same thing as adding negative 4. So I'm adding negative 4 each time. If I'm adding the same number each time, that's arithmetic. This is a yes. And what is my D? My D is negative 4. Because to get to the next number, I add negative 4 each time. Okay. Next one's a little more complicated than that, but it's still not bad. This is an explicit formula. The best way to see if an explicit formula is arithmetic or not is to actually find the first few numbers in the sequence. So the first number, A sub 1, I put in 1 for n. 1 times 5 minus 3 gives me 2. A sub 2, I put in 2 for n. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. A sub 3, 3 times 5 is 15. 15 minus 3 is 12. I've got a bit of a pattern going on here. I'll go ahead and do the fourth one just for snorts and giggles. 4 times 5 is 20. 25 minus 3 is 17. I think I can tell at this point whether it's arithmetic or not. What am I going up by each time?
5.
We're going up by 5 each time. So this one is a yes, and D is 5. And I'll give you a little hint. This is a linear equation, is it not? If I graph this, this would be a straight line. Linear equations give me arithmetic sequences. And the number in front of the n is what my D is. Okay, so if I have something that looks like that, that's an arithmetic sequence. Okay, questions? Your turn, do those. Okay, let's take a look at these. So the first one is not, if you take negative 1.5 and subtract 1.9, you get negative 3.4. Negative 3.4 minus negative 1.5 is not going to give you negative 3.4 again. This one is a no. This one is a yes. And my D is negative 8. I go down 8 each time. This one is a no. This one's actually geometric. How do I find the next term? I do it by multiplying by the same number each time. Times 3, times 3, times 3. So this one's a no. This one's a yes, because to move to the next one, I add the same number each time. So this one is a yes, and my D is 2.5. This one is a linear style of equation. This one is a yes, and my D is 3. This one is no. Okay. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. Not linear. And the next one, this one is also a yes. And this one, my D is negative 4.
Is B always going to be the second term?
No. Because here it's 3. That's how do I get it? So this is a linear style equation. This would be a straight line. My variables to the first power, I just have something like that. This is like an mx plus b. This is the same situation, only it's kind of reverse what goes first. Does that make sense? Any questions on this? Okay. So this one, find the specific term, find the 150th term, find the 46th term. The idea behind this is we're going to use this formula for arithmetic sequences. So we want to find the 150th term. We want to find a sub 150. We need a couple of things. There are 4 things in this formula. We're looking for one. We need the other 3. We need to know what the first term is. A sub 1. Well, my first term is 2. We need to know what D is. How do I get from one number to the next? What's my D in this case?
Plus 2.
Plus 2. I'm adding 2 each time. Okay. And then I need to know what term number I'm looking for. Well, I'm looking for the 150th term, so n is 150. And then let's plug it in the formula. A sub 150, the 150th term, is the first term plus 150 minus 1 times 2. Plug in my first term, plug in my n, plug in my d, do the arithmetic. So that would be 300. The 150th term is 300. Now, there are other ways to do this. With this particular one, it's really quite simple, actually. First term's 2, second term's 4, third terms are 6, so it's 2 times whatever term number it is, right? 2 times 150 is 300, but that's because this sequence is easy to figure out. Next one's not so much. Same idea, we're still going to use the same formula. So here I'm looking for the 46th term. I still need my first term, negative 3. I still need to find my D. What am I doing on this one? I'm going down 2 each time, right? So my D would be negative 2, and N would be 46, because I'm looking for the 46th term. Plug it into the formula. A sub 46 is equal to negative 3 plus 46 minus 1 times negative 2. And you're going to want to use your calculators a lot today. 45. And I get negative 93. So 46, negative 93. 46 minus 1 is what?
45 times negative 2 is negative 90.
Negative 90.
Not 3.
Yeah.
And multiply.
Okay, questions on that? This one's not too simple. If I want to jump somewhere in the middle, I just need to be able to figure out what these parts are. Okay. Your turn, do these. Okay, so I want to find the 56th term. First term is 13.1. D is negative 10. I go down 10 each time. And then N is 56. So A sub 56 is 13.1 plus 56 minus 1 times negative 10. And I get A sub 56, negative 536.9. Next one, A sub 1 is 2, D is 11, goes up 11 each time, and N is 115. So A sub 115 is 2 plus 115 minus 1 times 11. And I get A sub 115 is 1256. And then the last one in here, A sub 1 is negative 2.1. D is, I'm going down negative 0.2. And N is 73. So A sub 73 is negative 2.1 plus 73 minus 1 times negative 0.2. And I get negative 16.5. Questions? Yeah. Yeah. I need to know what term number we're looking for. And it is important to use the correct terminology. It's important to use the correct notation. And that's what this is. This is a notation question on that. I do want to see that. I'm looking for the 73rd term as opposed to the 72nd term or the 51st term or something like that. Does that make sense? And I want to have you see the connection. Ooh, A sub 73, 73 here. Make those connections between them. That's part of the reason why this is really important here. Okay, now, before we do these, we're going to skip to these ones here. Example problem number 4. Because actually, what we do here will help us do the other ones easier. That's really what that comes down to. Being able to do these makes the other ones easier. Now, finding the arithmetic means between two numbers. Here's what that's saying. Is that I've got 132, and I'm looking for one number between them. So I have 132, comma, blank, comma, 98. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to fill in that blank. What is that one blank between? Now this one's easy because this one technically is the average between those two numbers. If I'm looking for one that's in the middle, it's the average of the two numbers. However, what I really want to do to help me out, because if I'm looking for more than one space, I want to look for what D is. Knowing this will help me find D. What's my difference? Even if I don't have all the numbers, even if I don't have them sequentially, I can figure out what my difference is. And it's actually very easy to do. My D is equal to, I take the last number that's given to me, minus the first number given to me, 98 minus 132, and I divide that by how many ever jumps it takes me to get from 132 to 98. Now there's one blank, but to get to 198, how many times do I have to move over? I have to move over once, move over twice. So I divide that by 2. Essentially, in this case, I take the blanks, number of blanks, plus 1. And that's what I divide by. So I take 98 minus 132. And divide that by 2. And I get negative 17. That's what my D is. My D is negative 17. So how do I get from 132 to the next number? I subtract 17 from it. So 132 minus 17. So my number that goes in the middle here is 115. That's not that hard. Okay. When you start adding spaces in, that's where it starts to get fun. So here I want to find 3 arithmetic means between negative 12 and 16. So I have negative 12, and I'm looking for 1, 2, 3 numbers. That'll get me to 16. Now what your book shows you how to do is it says, oh, find the average of these two, and that's your middle number, and then find the average of these two, that's the number here, the average of these two, that's the numbers there, which works great if I'm looking for an odd number of arithmetic means. If I'm looking for an even number of arithmetic means, that won't work. You've got to look for your D. So here's to do this. To find my D on this one, I take the last number minus the first number, 16 minus negative 12, and I divide that by, in this case, I divide it by 4. Because I have to move over 1, 2, 3, 4 times, so I divide by 4. 28 divided by 4, I get 7. So my D is 7. So that means I add 7 each time. Negative 12 plus 7, negative 5. Negative 5 plus 7 gives me 2. 2 plus 7 is 9. 9 plus 7 will take me to 16. I did it right. That's a good way to check. Add 7 each time. Do you actually get the number you're trying to hit at the end? Okay. This will come in handy doing some of the other stuff we need to do that we skipped over. Go ahead and do these ones here. Okay, so I do these lectures with this chapter do tend to take a little while to go through. In fact, I think the next one will actually split it over 2 days. This one's a little long today. And my apologies, it's the nature of the beast. Sometimes they're longer than others. So find 4 arithmetic means between them. So 7, 1, 2, 3, 4 blanks, and then negative 33. So I'm going to figure out what D is. D is take the last number, negative 33, minus the first number, 7, and divide that by, in this case, 5. 4 blanks plus the 1 spot. Negative 33 minus 7 is negative 40 divided by 5 gives me negative 8. So my blanks, negative 1, negative 9, negative 17, negative 25. This one's a little more complicated. just because the numbers are a little more complicated, but it's really not that difficult. So I want to find 3 between 19.2 and 34.4. 19.2, blank, 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 34.4. To find D equals 34.4 minus 19.2 divided by 4, and you get 3.8. So that's my D, 3.8. So I start adding it in. 3.8, and I get 23. 23 even, 23.8. 23, and then it's 26.8, and then and 30.6. Those are your 3 numbers. Not that hard, right? Yeah. So if we go back to where we skipped, there we go. First problem is find D between those 2 numbers. Okay, same idea. I don't have to draw the spaces in between, though, if I'm given where they are in the sequence. Because the ones we didn't tell me where they were in the sequence. They didn't say this is the 3rd one and that's the 5th one, find the 4th one. They didn't say this one's the 10th, that one's the 14th. They just said, hey, they're 4 apart. They're 3 apart. They're 2 apart. That's what we did. We didn't know exactly where they were. Here we know where they are, which actually gives us a little bit of a hand. So if I want to find D, same idea. I take the last number minus the first number. D is equal to negative 30 minus 10 divided by, and here's the trick. I'm going between a sub 1 and a sub 6. I divide it by 6 minus 1. I subtract the subscripts, the last one minus the first one. And it doesn't matter if it was like the 16th and the 21st or like the 11th. I would still do 16 minus 11. Doesn't matter. You do the subscripts. 6 minus 1. Because I would have to jump 5 times to get from 1 to 6. Same thing here. That's what I do. So that gives me negative 40 over 5. So D is negative 8. Okay. You just subtract the subscripts. Last subscript minus the first subscript. Where the 2 numbers are, minus the 2 numbers, where the numbers are. And that tells me what D is. That's my difference between each one. If I'm trying to skip, I can do that. Okay. Now, this next one's probably the most difficult problem. There's a couple of ways to do this one. First thing, I absolutely have to know what D is. If I don't know what D is, I can't answer this. I need to know my difference. We just went over how to find the D. We did it several times. Same thing here. First step I do is I need to find D. So D is 37 minus negative 5 over 9 minus 3. Okay. 37 minus negative 5, that's 42. 9 minus 36, 42 divided by 6 is 7. Now I got a couple of choices here. I actually have lots of choices here. And how to do this. If I want to, I could just take 7 and add it repeatedly until I get up to the 22nd term. That'd be no problem, right? But if I'm trying to find the 122nd term, to going from 9 to 122, let's say I want to go from 9 to 225. You don't want to add it over and over again. You want to use this. You want to use this. Now, I have a couple of choices for this too. This one's not so bad. I can easily figure out what the first term is, right? To get to the first term, what would I have to do? I'd have to go backwards from here. So I've got the first term, second term, and my third term is -5. If I go backwards, I would be subtracting 7, right? To go forwards, I would add 7. To go backwards, I do the opposite. I subtract 7. So I subtract 7 from that, gives me -12. Subtract 7 from that, I get -19. That's my first term. It's probably the easiest way to do this particular one. Okay. I have my first term, I have my D, I have N. I can plug them into here just like we did earlier. Okay. I have my first term, I have my N, I have my D. Plug those 3 into the formula here. A sub 22 is equal to -19 plus 22 minus 1 times 7. And I get 128. Yeah, that's probably the most difficult problem. Seriously, the most difficult problem of the whole thing. I don't know the first. I got to find the first. I got to find several things to solve this one. It is probably the most difficult problem of the whole thing. This one looks nasty, but it actually isn't. It really isn't nasty. I'm given a sub 1, 6. D I can find to go from 6 to -5, -5 to -16. What am I doing? I'm subtracting 11 each time. So D is -11. N is what I don't know. A sub N, I do know that's -500. Remember, this formula has 4 terms in it. A sub N, A sub 1, N, and D. I have 3 of the 4 things. If I have 3 out of 4, just plug in the 3 I know and find the one I don't. That's what that is. A sub N, -500, my last term, -500, equals A sub 1, first term, 6, plus N minus 1, because N is the thing I don't know, times D, which is -11. And now it's algebra 1, solve for D, or sorry, solve for N. Algebra 1 from here. Distribute the -11 first. -500 equals 6 minus 11N plus 11. Right? -11 times N, -11 times -1. Combine up like terms. -500 equals -11N plus 17. You guys can solve this, right? Subtract 17 from each side. -517 equals -11N. Divide both sides by -11. I'm not going to hazard a guess on that one. 7 by 11 is 47. It is the 47th term in that sequence. Now, if you come up with something other than a whole number on there, you screwed up. Because N is going to be a whole number, because it's what number in the term, what number in the sequence is it, what term number in the sequence it is, it's going to be a whole number. If you come up with something other than a whole number, you messed up somewhere. That is what it is. Okay. Your turn, do these 3. Okay. So the first one, easiest one on here. Find D if you're given A sub 1 is 16, A sub 12 is -17. D is the last number, -17, minus first number, 16, divided by where the last number is, it's at 12, minus where the first number is, that's 1. So I get negative 33 over 11, so D is negative 3.
Easy peasy.
Next one, not as much, but it's still not bad. It just requires a little bit more work to get there. First step, find D. D is negative 2.1 minus negative 3.6 divided by 9 minus 4. And you end up getting 0.3. Okay, so that's not too bad. D is 0.3. I need to go backwards to find A sub 1. A sub 1, 2, 3, 4, 3.6. So negative 3.6 minus 0.3 minus 0.3 minus 0.3, and I get negative 4.5. And then I plug in N, A sub 1, and D. So I get A sub 35 is equal to negative 4.5 plus 35 minus 1 times 0.3. And I get 5.7. Now, before I move to the next one, there is a trick to this one that you can do. Let's say my term here isn't 4, but let's say this was 14 and this was 19. Do you really want to go backwards from 14 and find the first term? No. Here's what you can do. Make this the first term. And then I'm not looking for the 35th term. I would be looking for the 31st term, because it's 31 more than that one. 35 minus 4, N would be 31. I would be looking for 31 spaces down from here, and I could treat that as the first term and move 31 down. Okay. All the problems I give you guys really aren't that bad that way. So you're not looking for something. I'll give you 2 way over in the middle of the sequence and then say find one way past that. They're all pretty close to the front. So it's not that bad to go backwards from there. I think it's probably the easiest thing to do. Okay. And then the last one, A sub 1 is negative 12. D is 4. I'm going up 4 each time. And A sub N is 72. 72 equals negative 12 plus N minus 1 times 4. 72 equals negative 12 plus 4N minus 4. 72 equals 4N minus 16. Add 16 to both sides. 88 equals 4N. Divide by 4. N equals 22. Woo, I get it all out my calculator. You have to celebrate the little victories in life, because sometimes that's all you get.
Wait.
Questions? Okay. Yeah.
Plus.
Okay. And then we did that one. We did that one. Woohoo! All right. Write the explicit formula for the sequence. Write the recursive formula. The recursive formula is actually easier than the explicit, but you still need the same thing for both of them. And this is really nice because if you notice, it is the same sequence for both of them. So you need the first term. You need to know what A sub 1 is. which is actually very easy. I'm not even going to write it down. A sub 1 is what? It's 2. The first term is 2. And you need to know what D is. D in this case is 3. I'm going up by 3. So for the explicit formula, you plug A sub 1 in here, you plug in D, and then simplify. You can't solve, but you can simplify. So A sub n equals A sub 1, which is 2, plus n minus 1, because we don't know what n is, times 3. And then you simplify. Distribute the 3. A sub n equals 2 plus 3n minus 3. Combine up like terms. A sub n equals 3n minus 1. That's my explicit formula. It's not hard to find, is it? It's really not hard to find. If I do it again on this one, the hardest part on this one is what's my D? 1.2? Yeah, 1.2, thanks. Same thing. Plug in my first number, plug in D into that formula there. A sub n equals 5.7 plus n minus 1 times 1.2. Distribute, combine up like terms, simplify. A sub n equals 5.7 plus 1.2n minus 1.2. A sub n equals 1.2n plus 4.5. So it's not that hard. You have to know the first term, you have to know D. That's it. Plug it in, simplify the formula. The recursive formula is even easier. The recursive formula is even easier. You still need to know the same two things. You need to know the first term, which we have, and you need to know what D is, which we figured out in the first one was 3. 2 parts to the recursive formula. State A sub 1. A sub 1 is 2. How do I get to the next term? What am I doing each time? I'm adding 2 each time, right? So to get the A sub n term, I take the A sub n minus 1 and add 3. Plus whatever your D is. A sub n equals A sub n minus 1 plus whatever your D is. This one's the same thing. This one, D, is 1.2. So A sub 1 is 5.7. A sub n equals A sub n minus 1 plus 1.2. Easy peasy. Really is what? Nope, you're done. Like I said, recursive formulas are easy. Really easy. Recursive formulas are extremely easy for this stuff. Okay? So,